Hello, everyone. It's Boyd. Nice, calm evening. Late end of the evening, September 11th, 2024. Have a memory remembered a few days ago. Going back pre-pandemic, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years ago. Nice, hot summer day. I went to the local grocery store. And while I was out in the parking lot, I see a Buick, four-door Buick sedan with the hood up. And it's a couple rows over, and I thought, well, I have tools and stuff with me, and I walked over and talked to the gentleman, the retired gentleman. He had the door open, the hood was still open. And the story was they had driven from home to the grocery store, which wasn't too far, and then the engine got hot, and he opened up the hood to let the engine cool off before they drive home again. And I'm just really curious about this situation and talking to this guy. The wife is sitting in the passenger seat, and front passenger seat, and her chin is on her palm. She's just looking off in the distance. It's like she's looking 1,000 miles away. Maybe that's where she wished she was at this given moment, 1,000 miles away. Maybe she was wondering, why did I marry this guy? But so I continued the conversation with this guy, and I learned this was a regular occurrence in the summertime. They drive 2, 3, 4, 5 miles depending on how hot it was, and engine would start to get really hot, and they'd have to stop and open up the hood, let the engine cool down. And I'm wondering, okay, does this, I don't know if this Buick had a 3400 or a 3800 in it. And so I'm talking to this guy, and I'm just wondering, okay, head gasket, or is there a cracked block or something? And I think after a few minutes, it had cooled down enough that I popped open the radiator cap. I didn't get sprayed. It didn't spray everywhere. And I'm looking down inside the top of the radiator where the radiator cap is in, and I don't see any color. I just see clear liquid. And I'm just really puzzled at this point. And I'm talking to him, and I says, do you need to add coolant? And he says, no, I just add water. And then I said something like, don't you add coolant to make sure you have a nice 50-50, water and coolant mix? And he says, no, I only have water in that cooling system of this car. And I was like, what? This would have came from the factory with antifreeze, antifreeze coolant. And he says, oh, that costs too much money. And then he said, when I was a kid, that was before they had antifreeze and coolant, and all we used was water, and that worked just fine. And then I says, but this is a 5, 6-year-old car? He says, yeah, and well, it was built to use antifreeze and coolant mix. And he says, oh, that costs too much money. And I was completely dumbfounded at this point. And I says, well, if this happens often enough, you could blow a head gasket, you could crack heads. A head gasket job in this car is probably $800 or more. If you crack a head or two, it's going to cost probably a couple grand. And worst comes to worst, if you warp the block and you have to get a new engine, that's, I don't know, 3, 4, 5,000 or more. And he just looked at me, just didn't say anything. But his mind was stuck on, it costs too much to spend, you know, 30, 40, $50 on coolant antifreeze for his 5, 6-year-old Buick. This guy was so unbelievably cheap that he was unreasonable. And after we, reached that point in the conversation, he just really wasn't saying much at all. And the wife was still sitting there with this kind of, oh no. And I don't know. I don't know if I've ever ran into the guy ever again. I don't remember his name, don't remember his car. Maybe that moment was enough to convince him to spend $40, $50, replace the water in the cooling system in his 5, 6-year-old Buick with antifreeze coolant. Anyway, yeah, it's another one of those shake your head kind of situations. All right, thanks for watching. See you, bye.